Thank you so much for tuning in. This is the Fist in the Frame podcast, and I am still here. And it is I'm back. I'm still alive. We're still doing it. Happy New Year. I don't even remember if I think I've done an episode for the new year. I keep forgetting. But no, we're here. And I'm feeling nostalgic. Why? Well, it's the end of an era. And I have a new podcasting setup here, so I don't know how it's going to sound as far as how comfortable I'm going to get. I'm trying to do some things here, but we'll see. I'm trying to, I don't know, to podcast not in on a desk and have this whole little cart set up to I can pull to the side of my bed. Or I can sit on a chair or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, you don't need to know that. It's just for me and just letting you know that it might sound weird. It might sound not weird, but I don't know. So, it's the end of an era. I am actually just finishing up I'm rewatching High School DxD. I finished watching Prison School. And you guys might ask, why are you doing that? Well, I'll tell you. I will tell you. So, it's the end of an era, as I said. Funimation's gone. And love it or hate it or however we want to slice that up. And it's gone. It's going to be gone. It's going to be absorbed by Crunchyroll. I don't know any other politics on these YouTube or on these anime streaming channels. It's sometimes it gets to the point where, and I've talked about this before, sometimes it gets to the point where I am very frustrated. I'm like, you know what, fuck it. There are so many sites out there that have the anime for free that you can watch. You don't have to actually stream it. And there's actually a guy on a prominent podcast about anime that says he doesn't pay for the streaming services, which I think is very, very wrong, to be honest with you. I think it's, and I'm not a square as far as being, and I talked about this before, and I'm just going to bring it up again because I think it's worth repeating. I pay for my content, not because I'm a square. I don't think I am. I might be in some things, but believe me, when it comes to paying for content, I want to be artist. I'm a photographer. I create things. I want to be a videographer. I want to create short film. I want to create a documentary. And I do believe that if I want to consume something, or if I'm going to project something out there and someone was going to consume it, that they should have to pay for it in one way, shape, or form. Now, and that includes the other subscriber content that I pay to that we don't talk about out loud, but that we do, where some of my favorite models do things and I pay for the boutique. I call it boutique content. But yes, I do believe in paying for content. These things cost money to make, and we are entertained by them, and we have to be able to appreciate it by paying for them. It's the only content that I didn't pay for and that I agree with is the content, the Motown content, and I've already talked about that. Where if I don't feel like the artist that created these things of art, in this case music, aren't getting the royalties they deserve, the company that's doing it shouldn't be getting any money at all. In that aspect, I do. Now, that's not to say that the people that work on anime are the best paid people in the world, but they do get paid. And we can get into the politics as far as what I think about doing work and doing an honest day's work and getting compensated for it versus not getting compensated for it at all. Yes, I do think that we have to pay for it. In comes Funimation. One of the reasons that I got into, of course, we're going on over 10 years now, where my renaissance, my resurgence into anime is, and it starts off with Robotech. And I say Robotech specifically, again, because I know some people are sticklers for the for the name of it, the Macross, the Dimensional Fortress Macross versus the way Robotech was set out is actually three different anime squished together into one, very loosely tied through a seemingly generic story. But I love it. I think that except for the second part of the quote-unquote Robotech, I do watch this. I just finished watching the third episode. So every year I tend to watch or rewatch at least one or two or all of them of Robotech. A couple of weeks ago I just finished watching the third part, which is the Most Peta, where I always mispronounce that. But the third part of the Robotech series, which is, again, those three, you can look it up on YouTube, the history of Robotech and what those actually are. You don't need a history lesson from me on that. But yes, well, let's make a long story longer. So this is why I ended up getting a little resurgence into it. Before 10 years ago, go back with me. The first part of the story is 1985, 86, something like that. I'm 10 years old and Robotech comes on TV. That time I think it's one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life. Right up there with He-Man and Thundercats and Bugs Bunny and everything else. I've never seen anything like Robotech before in my life, with the story, the drama in it, and even some of the comedy in it as well. It was just such an amazing part of my life at that time where, man, I got to see Robotech, all right? And I wanted the toys and I wanted the whole 9 yards, right? So I loved it. Part of my childhood. And after that, as a kid, I didn't really get into too much other type of anime because it wasn't really readily available to us in our household. I didn't have the type of parents and the type of support group, let's just say, or the information available to me to go get these other forms, this other anime. If it wasn't on TV in 1985, I didn't have access to it. And even when we needed to go rent movies, even if they were there, let's just say if there was another mecha anime that I wanted to watch, it's renting videos back in those days, it was a family affair. And for whatever reason, you could only get 2 or 3 movies at a time because you had to take them back. You know, these video cassettes back in the 80s, in the mid to late 80s, even into the early to mid 90s, you had to go rent the movie. You went to a brick and mortar store. You rented out these big bricks of plastic with videotape inside, and you put it in this machine at home. And when the movie rental thing exploded in the mid to late 80s, and even if there was an anime movie available, one, it was always in Japanese, and we had to read it. And in those times, I wouldn't have been able to properly translate the anime to my parents because they didn't speak English very well, and they certainly weren't able to read as fast at all to catch up. So subtitles were really out of the question if it wasn't already translated into something. And if I was reading it, keep in mind, I'm 10, 11, 12 years old. I have a fairly decent, I've always been able to read very well. But the problem is being able to translate that into Spanish at that age is very difficult for me, and it almost still is. When I speak Spanish, I almost have to translate it first before I can say it out. I'm not a natural-born Spanish speaker like I am an English speaker, of course. I don't have to translate anything. The words and the garbage just spew out of my mouth. Anyway, so renting a movie was pretty much out of the question because the family would have to watch it because of whatever our budget was at the time, or because of the number of movies that we were allowed to rent at the time. You had to send them back. And in most cases, you send them back within the next couple of days, or you acquire late fees. Anyway, That was a weekend sort of thing, especially during the summer in those days. So finding an anime in that part of the world that just me and my little brother can see was not really an option for us. All right, so fast forward now another 10 years, 1993, 1994. Now I'm 18 years old. I got one of my first jobs delivering pizza. I used to work at Pizza Hut. And I remember this guy, and his name was David. And imagine, if you will, what you would think a stereotypical otaku, yes, he was Asian, and yes, he was Japanese, a stereotypical otaku person might look like, and this was David. Come to find out, David is very passionate about anime. And one day, we just were talking about something, one of our favorite cartoons or something like that, as you do as a kid working at the Pizza Hut. And what are your favorite cartoons? I'm like, I'm not sure if you guys remember, there was this cartoon named Robotech, and all of a sudden, David lights up and goes, dude, no way, are you serious? That was my favorite cartoon. And he was asking me, do you have the box set? I'm like, man, no, I don't even know where to get it. He's all, just give me the tapes, and I'll record them for you. So I give him, I think it was something like 10 to 12 VHS tapes, something like that at the time. And I gave it to him, and he says, and I'm like, and he just recorded them, kind of like how in those days, I don't even know what my audience is. I don't even know if you guys know what cassette tapes are. You used to be able to make copies of your cassette tape if you had a double-decker cassette tape, right? You can play it on one side and record it on another. Or if you were really savvy even at that time, you run some RCA cables out of the play one into the other one, right? Well, David had two VCRs, and he pushed one play, and then he recorded it into another one. I don't remember... I've never seen a double deck. They exist. The double decker VCRs where you can copy videotapes and all that. They exist. I've seen pictures of them, but I've never seen one in person. And even if I was, they were super expensive, I'm sure. But he would copy. He copied the whole set for me, and he copied. And we were thinking about copying over some other things as well, but we ended up kind of not working together anymore. Not kind of. We didn't work together anymore. We went off to bigger and better things, and we never kept in touch. And by the way, David's sister, oh my God, that woman was gorgeous. She came into work once. It's just a side story. The woman was, hey man, I'm watching High School DxD over here. I'm in it, and she was absolutely gorgeous. It was very difficult to believe that they were related. That's just how night and day they were. Anyway, so I had my box set of the 10 to 12 Robotech tapes, right? And I had them, and along with a bunch of other VHS tapes that I carry. And one day they were stolen. To make a long story shorter, so they were stolen. So I used to watch that, and this was in this was in the mid 90s now, 93, 94. And so I had those tapes for another 10 years or so. Now fast forward to 10 years ago, 2012, 2010, 2012, 2013, and I'm feeling nostalgic because by that point I have not had my Robotech tapes for at least 5 or 6 years. I don't know where they went. I'm not sure what happened to them. So I don't have them anymore, along with my high school football highlight reel that I had, which was about 20 minutes long of me doing awesome things in high school football, which would have been very nice to upload into the internet, but I don't have those anymore. Anyway, somebody has them, and they're worth a lot of money. Anyway, I just started feeling nostalgic. I'm like, man, I need to see what's going on here. Is Robotech available online? Turns out it is. The first version that I found online was actually the original Japanese version that was subtitled, and which is actually a little bit different than the stuff they sold us as kids. It's a little more mature and a little more this, that, and the other. But a couple of years later, or even maybe months later, the original TV version, let's just say the original American version of it, was available on Amazon, and I bought the whole set. It's one of the first digital things that I've ever bought. Which, side note, come to find out that you never truly owned anything digital, guys. And this is one of the things, actually, this is a footnote to what's happening with Funimation. As one of the other podcasters has said, you don't really own any of the digital products that you've purchased from somebody. They can go away at any time unless somehow you managed a way to rip them and put them into your own library. So that's that, right? So I found it on Amazon, and then I don't know how, I must have tried to Google something other, but I ended up finding, I know what it was. Sorry, I had a brain fart. During the Cartoon Network, of course, anime started running through, and we were still watching. I was really into Samurai Jack at the time. That's where I started kind of watching things again. But this was now early 2000s, probably 2004, 2005, if I maybe be able to backtrack. But I wasn't really full into anime as I am now. But Samurai Jack to me is one of the greatest animated shows ever. And I watched it as well. I couldn't miss it. And that one too, I have my DVDs of Samurai Jack somewhere around. I almost got a tattoo of Samurai Jack. That's how much I loved it. I have an Aku t-shirt somewhere around. I love Samurai Jack. And, of course, they showed other anime, too. They were showing, I caught a couple episodes of Trigun there at the time, I believe. But the one anime that really got me was, again, really into it, was Afro Samurai. And Afro Samurai was just like unlike anything as well at that point animated that I seen at the time. And I'm like, man, this is amazing, this, that, and the other. And it was another thing, a few years later, I'm like, I want to see Afro Samurai again. And I think that's finally where, lo and behold, I ran into Funimation. Funimation has Afro Samurai on it. So I'm like, fuck, this is awesome. And it turns out that within that whole time, there was another season of Afro Samurai that came out. And I'm like, damn it, that's awesome. So I was absolutely elated with Funimation at that time. You keep in mind, I have no idea of any other way to stream it. I don't even know if there was another way to stream anime at that time. And, this is my ignorance. There probably was. But Crunchyroll was not available. I think that's newer, and Absolutely High Dive was not available. If you wanted to watch some sort of other animation stuff, I think you actually had to go on. Netflix had some of it, and Amazon had the other part of anime as well. But a dedicated streaming service to anime, off the top of my head, I can't think of any at the moment. I'm sure they're probably out there, but Funimation was it for me. So I loved Funimation. It introduced me to a lot of anime that I had no idea even existed. Enter Prison School. I said, what is this? Prison School, when I saw Prison School, I was amazed. I'm like, who does this? How does this happen? This is one of the craziest, best things I've ever seen in my life. And don't get me wrong, I knew what I was watching, the ridiculousness of it, but how well it was made as opposed to some sort of thing. It could have gone a completely different direction. And now, seeing as much anime as I have, there are certain anime that have gone in a completely different direction as far as the quote-unquote fan service anime that's out there. Basically, your tits and ass, right? There are very just not so good anime out there, right? Again, you guys know that I'm never going to trash any sort of anime that's done at any level. It is, to me, entertaining enough to where if I watched it, I watched the whole thing. So Prison School is there, and come to find out about Prison School. Well, I'll get into Prison School in a second just to kind of bore you at work and bore you a little more. So Funimation is gone. But Funimation introduced me to all these other shows. It had, of course, Afro Samurai, and that's when I started watching other shows. Psychopaths was on there. A bunch of shows that were just strictly on. I mean, shit, you got the just so much fan service. Basically, I ran through all the fan service one go. The Freezing was another one that I watched where I'm like, dude, this is good. It is what it is, but I'm always waiting on the next season, which by this point is probably never going to happen. But that show has substance in it, you know. And I was really like, man, this is decent show. And then, you know, comes along, you know, High School. And High School of the Dead was another one that I watched. And I'm like, man, what happened there? And then as soon as I started getting into podcasting and really at least half-ass researching anime and getting ideas, you find out why these shows are never going to come back. And of course, High School DxD that has 4 seasons of magic and tits everywhere. And you know, you do get frustrated with how the characters develop, if you will, or just say very loosely. But it's still funny. I mean, Grab and Dragon is fucking amazing. I want a T-shirt that has the red dragon on it that says Grab and Dragon on it. Without any boobs, without any reference, just for the people that want to, just for the people that know when I'm walking down the street. You know, these shows, I was thoroughly entertained. But I was frustrated with Funimation and a lot of things that were happening as and I think this is pretty much, and another thing where I started to get into podcasting and researching is that I was glad that I wasn't the only one that was frustrated with the way Funimation ran its apps and basically overall how it did its thing. I was very happy for some of the things that it did, but the way that the whole thing was working out, I just didn't. I didn't like the whole thing. Right now, I'm surprised that I haven't had any hiccups, knock on wood, on this. I'm glad I didn't have any hiccups on this, on my current app. I'm running off of Chrome here, and I'm just really glad I didn't have any, because it shuts off, it turns off, and this, that, and the other, and it just runs slow as hell. Anyway, but shit, nothing compared to High Dive, right? I mean, if you guys don't have any problems with High Dive, let me know, because whatever. Anyway, High Dive is probably going to go away too, I think. At least in certain markets. In my market, it might go away. But I didn't get as much out of High Dive as I wanted to either. I think at the beginning it promised more fan service. Not fan service, but maybe more mature sort of anime, and it didn't quite go that way, I think, for some reason. And I think it's just because overall, maybe the owners are conservative or what have you. Anyway, so Funimation is gone, and is going to be leaving sometime, I believe April is what the little pop-up says. So the reason I watch Prison School, and the reason I'm watching High School DxD, and I might watch. Wait, is High School of the Dead on Funimation? I don't know. I think it is. And I think Speed Grapher is another one that's on Funimation, which is right up my alley. It's about a photographer that's more or less kind of going crazy. And I'm watching those because I don't think those are going to transfer over to any other streaming service anytime soon. I don't think Crunchyroll is going to. The stuff that Crunchyroll, the mature stuff that Crunchyroll puts on, it's not. It's all censored, right? And I've talked about this before, to where I don't feel like I need to have all the tits and ass showing. Certainly not like in High School DxD or Freezing or something like that. But it's nice, and it's nice to have that. And so this is nostalgia wise. these are the shows that I'm going to watch before I can't watch them again anymore. They're going to be seared into my head. Rias's and Akino's drawings will be seared into my head. It's just cool. Right now it's in the background. I'm watching it right now. The sound is off. But this is the third time that I'm watching this show, and I like to have it in the background when I work sometimes, and it's funny. But it's gone. It'll be gone. Like I said, I don't know. I mean, I can always look for the streaming. Let's just call them the alternative sites. I'm sure I can rewatch them there if I'm ever super nostalgic and go, huh. And again, if by some chance rumors out there, and I don't know if it's true, but there's supposed to be a 5th season coming out with this show. And to be honest, I'm 60-40 on it. If it comes out to conclude the arc, to conclude everything, that's great. I hope they grow up. That's all I'm saying. Whatever you get out of that, that's what I'm saying. I hope they grow up. That's all I'm saying. And I just realized error number 1 in my new podcast setup. Hopefully you don't hear it, but I'm pretty close to my fridge, and when it goes off, it goes off. So sorry if you hear that, but fuck it. Most of us have fridges at home anyway. So again, I'm watching these shows just before they leave. And one of the good things about this is this. And this is why I love Funimation more than I hate it. And while in the end of the day, I will be sad that it leaves, and that is just because, truth be told, I really haven't gone back to Funimation to see anything new. It's either been on Crunchyroll or High Dive, or Hulu or Netflix or Amazon. I haven't gone back to Funimation as when it was my only way to watch anime. I don't see what it is. I don't think there's anything new that is exclusively to Funimation anymore. I'll double check. Again, I don't know anything about it anymore as far as like, this is officially, maybe once every 3 months, three or 4 months, I check back into Funimation to see what's going on. And now that I know that it's gone, well, I'm just looking at it now, giving it one last hurrah. But here's what I appreciate about Funimation. It opened my doors to my rebirth, my renaissance to anime. While there are a lot of mediocre anime on there were a lot of great anime on there too. Blood Sea was one of the first animes where I was just like blown away, like, wow, you can do this. And I know that might seem a little weird, right? But Death Frenzy was another one. Of course, they had Champloo. And I'm missing another big one, of course. They had Seven Samurais on there. Beck, Mongolian Chop Squad, to me was a great fucking anime. They have great anime on there. It's just that something like Blood Sea was like that when I realized that plot twists exist in anime. That's when I said, "What? Oh my god!" I had the reason I didn't see it coming. And usually is because in movies, I can see it coming, right? Because I expect, this is going to happen here. The reason I didn't see it coming in anime is because I never expected it to be an anime. I never expected a decent story to all of a sudden pull me or guide me in one direction, and then all of a sudden pull me in another. And I'm like, wait a minute. No way. This is insane. And it is what it is. And I'm like, oh my God, this is decent storytelling. And of course, you come to find out that there's other animes that have great storytelling on it as well. You know, there's just a bunch of other great anime. Attack on Titan was I started watching it on there. These shows where, man, can you believe that Attack on Titan is that old now? I mean, it's I mean, we've been watching Attack on Titan for 10 years going on, right? Man, crazy. Here's a few things that I wanted to touch on about what I owe to Funimation. Okay, I really do owe my resurgence into anime, opening my anime door and exploration and helping me learn new things, helping me find music that in anime that I listen to now that I would have never listened to before. That is just amazing. The Peggies, for instance, I never would have found them. The Blue Hearts come from the Blue Hearts out of an anime that's like not that great. The Rolling Girls, right? I've talked about that before, to where like the anime wasn't a super duper anime, the one that I would recommend. I wouldn't recommend that anime to anyone, but for the music. And that's where I find the Blue Hearts, which is not one of my favorite bands ever. So anime's just done so much more for me these last 10 years. And Funimation was one of these things. Now, and here's a perfect example of this. This is what I learned when I started researching Prison School, right? The author to Prison School, and let me just kind of let me look it up because I had my notes ready, but I didn't have the author's name. All right, the Prison School anime. Where's my Crunchy? Not my Crunchyroll. Prison School. Let me take a look here. The author's name is, where are you? Come on now. I'm so sorry. Written by Akira. Let me put it up here so that I can see. Akira Hiramoto. Akira Hiramoto. Why is this important? And why did all of a sudden why do I need to tell you that? So Prison School is written by this cat, Akira Hiramoto. And there's a lot of things going on with Prison School right now where apparently, and this is going to be kind of a selfish podcast, and I'm just going to tell you about myself in this because I feel what this author is kind of going through. Keep in mind, I'm a photographer, okay? So this gentleman, he writes Prison School, and it takes off, and it's amazing. And it is some sort of blockbuster at that time. And while the anime only has one season to it, they were thinking about doing another season. And I'm giving you a very quasi loose story about it, but his manga takes off to the point where it is without a doubt his most epic work. And it gets to the point where he's very frustrated about it. He doesn't want to be known for Prison School, yet that's what he's known for. He wants to be known for his real artistic work, and a work by Robert Johnson. And the name, oh shit, I just lost the deal there. And it turns out he's really into basketball. So his basketball manga, when he first started out, that's what he starts to get noticed with him. He's really into basketball. So I'm not really into anime basketball. I like basketball, but not anime basketball. I don't know what it is about it, but it's just not my thing. Anyway, that's what gets the ball rolling for him. And then he gets into this Prison School thing, which just takes off. And then that's all anybody ever wants is apparently, do more Prison School. And of course, it's fan service, right? But during this time, he is working on something called Me and the Devil Blues. All right. Now, this is where I got to tell you about myself. I am a huge blues fan. Me and the Devil Blues is a manga, very loose manga, based on a bluesman named Robert Johnson. Robert Johnson is, the legend is that he didn't know how to play guitar. Everyone laughed him off stage. One day he goes to the crossroads. He sells his soul to the devil. And all of a sudden, he's the greatest guitar player anyone has ever heard. And to this day, his guitar skills are godlike. They are, it sounds like he's playing two guitars at once. And his influence cannot be understated in the realm of rock and roll. We wouldn't have rock and roll the way it is today if it wasn't for Robert Johnson. And I know in this day and age, a lot of people don't listen to rock and roll as much. But when you start looking at the bands like the Cream, specifically Eric Clapton, these bands that from England in the 60s that came up, they were very influenced by the blues. And Robert Johnson is one of the pillars on which the blues stand. And it really is, his influence cannot be overstated. He's just, yes, he is that good, and he is worth being mentioned, and he is worth writing a manga about. He would be like writing a manga about a samurai walking the earth. Matsumoto, the Miyamushi, which, by the way, that new on Netflix, that new anime based on him is Miyamoto Musashi. Excellent. And it's based, and again, they got Toshiro Mifune, who played him in the movies that were made back in the 50s and 60s. That's his likeness. By the way, decent anime, worth a watch. Anything samurai is up my alley. But before I was really back in anime, again, I couldn't stop listening to Robert Johnson. He only wrote 26 songs, and he recorded them in a couple of days from in a hotel room. Legend goes. Just him and a single microphone sitting in a corner playing his guitar. And, he changed the world. You have to understand that, again, Robert Johnson plays a big role in my life, too, and I had no idea that this manga existed. And so now, I'm attached one way to Akira, right? I am attached for my love of blues. I'm attached to this guy, and for the fan service. Now, come to find out that he is very frustrated. Apparently, I believe he has health issues. I am not positive on his complete story. There's a couple of YouTube stories about him. You guys can go check it out. You just start off, you just type in prison school anime, and you'll get the whole story about this thing. And what happens is that he's frustrated. He doesn't want to be known for prison school. He would rather be known for something else, and he's working on this Me and the Devil Blues, in which he's the writer and the artist on it. And all of a sudden, I kind of latch on to him because I am a photographer as well, and I have two types. I have a bunch of different types of photography, but one of the photography stuff that I'm known for seems to be working with models, and that seems to be the stuff that people latch on to and quote unquote buy, and I did it. I like it. It's I definitely have a passion for it. I think I have a great eye for photographing, for doing that type of photography. But I also take portraits, normal portraits. I take music. Music is what I'm really, really into, and it's actually what kind of opened the door for me. And then I went into and started shooting women and models and stuff. And that's what I would like to be known for, and that's what some people know me for. But as far as, let's just say, and I'm not trying to brag that I have this big following on the internet or anything like that. Certainly by no means. But what more people seem to, just on the amount of followers that I have, everybody latches on to the TNA. And in that sense, I understand how this guy is feeling. And come to find out, he's my age. Wait, let me look at this. This guy was born. Yeah. He was born. Well, who knows? Because there's no exact date on his birth date, I think. They just have a year, which he was born in 1976. I was born in 1975. So we're the same age. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. So I was born in the year of the rabbit. He was born in the year of the dragon. That's what year this is, right? The dragon would be there. Don't quote me on that. We're going to have to figure it out. Anyway. So I am attached to this guy. All of a sudden, sort of by, I am not in any way saying that I'm on this guy's artistic level. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that I feel him. I understand how he feels like. And all of a sudden, I have this attraction to something that, first of all, I need to get my hands on this manga. And from all accounts, from everything that I can see, they're out of my budget. I can't. There's a French version available on Amazon, which I can kind of read French a little bit, but I'm feeling like I might be losing a little bit because I'm not very proficient at French, but that seems to be reasonable, but available on Amazon, but it's still pricey. And anything else it's just this rare super manga that I'm like, man, hopefully one day when I go to Japan, I'll be able to find it somewhere in the back shelf of a dusty bookstore that, where I'd be able to buy it for 50 cents a copy. But again, it all ties in with anime. All these artists that I found, again, with music and what have you, is amazing to me. And I do, again, I owe that to Funimation. And to a certain extent, I don't even know. Let's type in here. Let's just type it here. What year did Funimation start? Because I can't. Oh no, it's old. Never mind. Yeah, no, Funimation is old. Well, at least the beginnings started. Looks like in May 9th, 1994 is the big date that appeared here. And I don't know to what extent that was, but yeah. But I would say like the heyday of when I was watching it. Let's just pretend that when I started watching it, it was its heyday. I could be lying, and I probably am, but just, pretend I'm cool for a second. It dates me a little bit to where, man, I've been a subscriber for Funimation for the last 10 years. They've taken my monthly subscription for 10 years. And now, I'm not going to renew my subscription this month or until I finish. And again, I have a lot of things in the queue that I haven't finished seeing. And I know a lot of that is not going to transfer over. I mean, how long have they said that they were going to transfer over anime to Crunchyroll? And there's still stuff in my queue that's not available on Crunchyroll. And I just don't think, and high school is one of them, prison school is one of them, I just don't think that that's going to happen anymore. And it's like the things in my queue are going to go. And I'm like, well, those are lost. And, I'm sure it's like a lot of us to where I think that our queue, we're never going to get through our queue no matter what we do. We're always thinking about, oh, man, if I only had a week off of work or if I only had a day off of work, all I'm going to do is watch anime. And to be fair, sometimes we do. Sometimes we sit there and binge watch stuff. I've been watching High School DxD for the past couple of days. It's been on constantly. Let's just say not 24 hours, but While I worked today was on. Today it's been on for I don't know, about 8 hours today. Just to catch up. Watching it while I worked, watched it while I cleaned dishes, watched it while it's just on. I mean, to be honest, there's really not a whole lot to see in High School DxD is not something that it's only for us cultured people, if I may use that term. Again, my buddy asked me, hey man, I know you watch a lot of anime. What kind of anime should I watch? I did not say Prison School. I did not say High School DxD. I said, man, why don't you, based on because we have similar tastes in other movies as well. I said, why don't you start on Vinland Saga? Let me know what you think, and then we can go from there. And it's one of those, I think, where, the first couple episodes, I'm not even finished watching a lot of episodes myself. It's another one of those but it's a serious anime, and it's just something, as far as story goes, of what anime is capable of doing for someone who likes that. And my other buddy loves The Sopranos. What am I going to do? Say, hey, man, watch High School DxD or something like that. I'm like, oh, you know what? Maybe if we're watching Sopranos, maybe 99 Days, Bungo, I would say Black Lagoon, maybe, in Cowboy Bebop is a tough sell, but only because of the I don't know, maybe it isn't. Now that I think about it, Cowboy Bebop is one of the best, right? But it's still very much anime as opposed to some of these other ones that I mentioned, where like they're real, kind of dramatic sort of thing. But whatever. I'm like, hey, if you like sci-fi, and kind of want to probably the upper echelon of anime in that sense, with check out Cowboy Bebop. I hope he didn't watch the live action first, because then that would be. And again, I'm talking about, I love the live action. I actually want them to make a second season of the live action. I'm one of the few, and it's just like, I know they can do better. That's what it is. I know they can do better. And that one wasn't that bad, but compared to the actual anime, come on, how can you compare the two? We are expecting so much out of 10 episodes that are packed into the whole season of Cowboy Bebop, to where emotionally we are vested in something else. Anyway, that's why I'm rewatching some of these old school stuff. There's a couple other ones that I'm going to watch here that fan service ones that are, well, we know they're not up to par. But they are what they are. I just doing this right here with you guys. I'm on episode 9 of the final season of High School DxD. I'm probably going to end up watching the rest of it as I edit this and upload it. And that'll be the end of High School DxD. Which I don't even know properly pronounced. Is it High School Double D? Because that makes more sense to me. Because of the obvious. But High School DxD, maybe. D by D. I don't know. It took me a while to figure out that Hunter x Hunter is just Hunter x Hunter. Whatever. You do it, I'm sometimes not hip to the game. Anyway, Funimation, may you rest in peace. Love it or hate it. It brought me here. It did. I owe Funimation a lot. I do. And again, with its ups and downs and its in and out, I will be probably one of the few people that will be sad to see it go. I don't know. It doesn't deserve a moment of silence, but it deserved a fucking quasi episode of it to say, onward and upward. And while I might have, I'm an old man. I already told you how old I am. I was born in 1975, man. I'm watching these things, these cartoons. Why? Because they're fun. They're worth it. you always keep watching anime. Why did I talk about Funimation? Why did I basically dedicate an episode to something that most of us have a really strong love-hate relationship with? Again, because it marks an era. It's not like an end of a season of your favorite anime where you're like, okay, that's done, or an end to the whole arc of the anime itself, the series finale. We're like, okay, that ended up on a good note. This marks a very long passage of time. I mean, there are anime out there, which is funny, that started before Funimation was there and are continuing to make episodes now. But as someone, again, 10 years is a chunk of change. It's a decade. And it is really weird, I guess is the word. The weird that Funimation is over. And it wasn't one of these things. I can't lie and tell you, oh, it's something that I've always wanted to be there. It's actually something that I wish would have ended. You know it is. It's always something that I wish would have just like, God. But it's to say that, man, I'm glad it's over. That's too strong. I don't know. Obviously, I'm feeling some kind of emotions about this. About somehow it's an end. It really is an end of an era. And to be able to say, well, what's next? What's going to happen? It is weird. And I just felt the need to talk about it. I don't even know how any of you out there feel about this. Maybe you have mixed emotions like I do about it. I don't think I'm going to cry about it. There's better things to cry about. Yeah, the world knows there are things to cry about. But yeah, a door has closed. That's I guess that's the best way. The door has closed. And God, I hope they don't fucking start it up again, because fuck, you don't need that. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to me jibber jabber about something that I have no idea how I feel about now. But I will talk to you guys later. Take it easy. Be safe.